Hi guys, so welcome back to our final day of talking about photosynthesis. So what we are going to do today is we are going to talk about what photosynthesis is, and then you guys are going to listen to the Magic School Bus, and you're going to have a fun activity today. So who can remind me what photosynthesis is again? Yell it nice and loud. Good. Photosynthesis, the process of making food. Awesome, in a plant. So there are bunch of different parts that they need in order to make a plant or food in a plant. Sunlight, water, oxygen or carbon dioxide, okay? And then it makes oxygen in like a simple syrup type sugar, okay? So what we're gonna do is you're gonna listen to the Magic School Bus, okay? And then we will talk a little bit and you guys will have a fun little activity to do today. So follow along.
Gets Planted, a book about photosynthesis. We never know what's going to come up when our teacher, Mrs. Frizzle, is around. Take the other day, for example. Our class was getting ready to put on a play, Jack and the Beanstalk. Wanda was playing Jack, Liz, the golden goose, Carlos, the giant, Keisha, Jack's mother, and Tim, the old man at the market. We were all in our costumes and the stage was set. All of a sudden, Wanda turned around and looked at the stage. "Where's the beanstalk?" she asked. The beanstalk was the most important prop of our play and was Phoebe's job to get the props, but Phoebe was nowhere to be found. Finally, we found Phoebe in the prop department. She was trying to put paper leaves on a soggy green papier-mâché blob, but the blob didn't look anything like a beanstalk. "What's happened to growing a real plant?" Keisha asked, pointing to the papier-mâché blob. Phoebe looked upset. "I tried," she said. She showed us a tiny pale green plant in a pot. The bean sprouted, but the sprout never grew. I don't know what went wrong. "We can't do this play without a beanstalk," said Wanda. "Of course we can't," said Mrs. Frizzle, "and we won't. Just because our prop shop is out of beanstalks doesn't mean we have to give up on our play. To the bus, class," the Frizz shouted happily. "Wait a minute," Phoebe announced as we were about to step onto the bus. "Since growing magic beanstalks is my job, if there's any growing to be done, I think I should do it." Miss Frizzle got that funny gleam in her eye. "What a marvelous idea," she told Phoebe. "You just stay rooted to this spot and we'll have you growing in no time." Was Phoebe about to become our beanstalk? Liz pulled a switch on the dashboard. Phoebe started shrinking, and before we knew it, she had turned into a small green potted plant. "Phoebe is our magic beanstalk," said Carlos. Phoebe looked surprised. "You mean I'm the bean plant?" she asked. "I volunteered to help grow a beanstalk, not be one." We all ran off the bus to see Phoebe. The Frizz set Phoebe down next to a sweet potato plant in the garden by the parking lot. "Grow tall and prosper. Let the sweet potato plant be your guide," she told Phoebe. We knew that Phoebe had to grow tall if she was going to be the magic beanstalk. But Phoebe didn't know how to grow. After all, she had never been a plant before. "Maybe she needs food," Keisha suggested. "All living things need food to grow." She handed Phoebe a cheesy wheezy. "I'm hungry, but not for people food," said Phoebe. "That's right," we all agreed. "You're a plant. You need plant food." "So how do I get plant food?" Phoebe asked. "Let's see." Dorothy Ann was trying to figure it out. "Plants don't have mouths to chew or hands to grab food with. I wonder if they eat with their roots," she suggested. "But what would they eat?" Wanda wanted to know. "Maybe they eat dirt," Dorothy Ann said. That's all Miss Frizzle had to hear. She whipped out a strange-looking two-way video camera from her purse and put it next to the sweet potato plant. The camera would allow Phoebe to see and hear us at all times, and it would allow us to see and hear her. "To the bus," she said. We climbed back onto the bus and fastened our seatbelts. Suddenly, the bus whirred into a yellow tornado. Then it got smaller and drilled itself down into the wet soil. Before we knew it, we were speeding through a dark tunnel. It was amazing. There were rocks and chunks of stuff all around, some that looked as big as boulders. "Are those boulders dirt?" Ralphie asked. "A well-grounded deduction, Ralphie," Miss Frizzle answered. "Soil is made up of tiny particles of rock and other materials, but because we're so small, they look as big as boulders." "And is that water?" Tim asked, pointing to something that was dripping down into the dirt around us. "It certainly is," answered the Frizz. Suddenly, we noticed something huge coming towards us. "It's a root," said Phoebe over the video monitor. "And it's moving because it's growing," said Dorothy Ann. "It's growing? That means it must be getting food from somewhere," Wanda said. "It seems to be sucking up the water," added Ralphie. "If we were any smaller, we'd get sucked up too." In a flash, Miss Frizzle pushed another lever on the bus. Soon we were shrinking again. "What's going on? Help!" we all yelled. We kept shrinking until we were small enough to fit inside a drop of water. Suddenly it looked like goosebumps were growing behind the root's tip. Then hair started to sprout. Wanda screamed, "The roots are exploding!" "The root is growing root hairs," explained the Frizz. "The root hair started sucking up the water around them. Then they started sucking us up too." "Quick, Miss Frizzle, do something," Phoebe yelled over the monitor as she watched us. "Don't worry," said the Frizz. "We're getting to the root of the problem." All of a sudden, we were being pulled with the water through a long tube-like thing. Phoebe had lost sight of us. "Guys, where are you?" she shrieked. "We're in a root hair," we shouted back. "It looks like plants get water from the soil, not food," Keisha told Phoebe on the camera's loudspeaker. "Then how do plants get their food? I'm hungry, and I need to know what plants eat so I can grow," Phoebe cried. Meanwhile, the kids in our school were heading through the garden to the gym. They were coming to see the play. "Quick, hide me," Phoebe told Liz. "I can't let anyone see me this way." So Liz put a big cardboard box over Phoebe. We didn't know it then, but Phoebe was all alone in the dark. Suddenly, we were being swept up with the water through the stem. It was incredible. "We know the plant doesn't get food from its root or stem, so the answer's got to be in the leaves," called Ralphie as we rushed upward. "And I think that's where we're headed," said Wanda. Meanwhile, we could see Phoebe on the video monitor. She was so hungry that she was starting to droop. "Top floor, leaf," announced Miss Frizzle. We got out of the bus, and wow, was it ever beautiful. "Is this really a leaf?" Tim asked. "I thought leaves were flat, and this one sure isn't." "But it's because we're so tiny, Tim," said Dorothy Ann, "that the leaf just looks textured. And look at all of these different parts." "I bet it's these dark green blobs that make the leaves look so green when we're big," said Carlos. "Absolutely," said the Frizz. "Those gorgeous green blobs are called chloroplasts," she explained. "Are the chloroplasts food?" Wanda asked. "You're getting warm," Miss Frizzle answered. Suddenly, Keisha noticed something at the bottom of the leaf. It was opening and closing, and we could see through it to the outside. We watched it open and close. "Maybe food comes in that way," said Keisha, pointing to the holes. Then some air came rushing in through the holes. "Hey," shouted Wanda, "I feel a breeze coming in when those holes open up." "Could that be food?" Arnold asked, pointing to the air. "I don't know," said Ralphie. "I'll give it the good old sniff test." Ralphie leaned over the big airspace. He wanted to smell the breeze as it blew in. "No," he decided, "it doesn't smell like..." But Ralphie didn't get to finish his sentence. He had leaned over too far and fell through the big airspace in the leaf toward one of the holes on the bottom. Just then, the hole began to open. "Help!" he yelled as he got closer and closer to one of the holes. Luckily, when the hole opened, a huge wind blew in through the hole and sent him flying back up. Boom! Ralphie hit his head. We could feel the air blowing from where we stood on the ledge, too. "So plants suck in air through those openings in their leaves," said Keisha. "And they suck up water through their roots and through their stems," continued Wanda. "But what does that have to do with getting food?" asked Wanda and Keisha together. All of a sudden, the sun came out and shone on the leaf where we were. Then the most amazing thing happened. The chloroplasts started moving like mad. They were racing to reach the light. "Whoa, look at those chloroplasts go," said Carlos. "What's going on?" Arnold asked as we watched the action inside the liquid. Miss Frizzle gave us scuba gear to wear so we could go inside where the chloroplasts were. We pushed through the wall and headed for the chloroplast. "Wahoo!" yelled the Frizz as she grabbed onto a chloroplast and rode it as it headed for the light. "The chloroplasts are sun freaks. They're heading for the light," called Wanda. "They're actually soaking sun in," said Tim. "And the sun seems to give them energy," Dorothy Ann figured out. "Look," said Keisha, pointing to one of the chloroplasts. "They're taking in more than sun. They're taking in air and water, too." We could see the sunlight shining into the chloroplast. Air was flowing in, and the chloroplast seemed to be slurping up the water, too. All of a sudden, white stuff started gushing out. We all watched as white stuff poured out of the chloroplast into the liquid. Maybe it's some kind of recipe, said Keisha. The chloroplasts are taking in sun, air, and water, and they're using it to make stuff, Wanda said, reaching for some white stuff. And it's all gooey and sticky. And then she climbed out and took her scuba dome off. Some of the white stuff splashed onto her face. Ew, it got into my mouth, she screamed. But it was really good, she exclaimed. It is sweet. Wanda licked the rest off her face. The chloroplasts are making some kind of sugar, she said. Maybe the sugar is a kind of food, continued Keisha. Plants don't get their food from somewhere else. They make their own food, she cried. Ah, yes, the sweet taste of discovery, said the Frizz, as she made a backward somersault onto the bus. We called Phoebe through the video camera's microphone. Bus to Phoebe, we figured it out. If you want them to eat and grow tall, then all you need is air, water, and sun, called Tim. But I can't make my own food, Phoebe moaned. I have air and water, but there's no sun in this box. Box? What are you doing in a box? Yelled Keisha. It was no wonder Phoebe was so hungry. Plants need sun to make their own food. So we got back onto the bus and went to Phoebe's rescue. Meanwhile, all of the kids were waiting in the gym to see the show, and they were growing more and more impatient. We blasted out of the leaf with the help of a couple of rockets. Then Mrs. Frizzle pushed a few buttons on the bus, and we popped back to our regular sizes. We raced out of the bus and ran to Phoebe's box. But when we lifted it up, Phoebe was gone, and Liz was nowhere to be found. We found Phoebe on stage in her pot. Liz had brought her to the gym and was trying to prop her leaves up a little with twigs. Phoebe still hadn't grown, but Miss Frizzle started the show anyways. Once upon a time, the Frizz began, there was a boy named Jack. Open the skylight, Miss Frizzle told Liz. Through the window of the gym, we could see Liz pushing some controls on a bus. Then the bus turned into a huge crane that was as tall as the gym. It started pulling open the skylight. Sunlight poured down into the gym and right onto Phoebe. Phoebe started looking a little stronger and greener right away. As the sun shone in, Phoebe started to feel less scared. She opened the holes in her leaves and took in air. That night, the magic bean sprouted and the most amazing thing happened, announced Miss Frizzle. But there was still something wrong. Phoebe couldn't feel the water and the air in her leaves, but she still couldn't feel the sun. All of a sudden, we noticed why Phoebe couldn't feel the sun. Phoebe's leaves were all curled up. Just open your leaves, Keisha whispered to Phoebe. Meanwhile, we were watching what was going on inside Phoebe on the monitor. The chloroplasts inside Phoebe's leaf cells were racing to reach the sunlight. Then we saw the white stuff come gushing out and rushing down through a vein to her stem. Yay! Phoebe was making her own food at last. Then Phoebe started to grow magically fast. The audience was cheering. They couldn't believe their eyes. She grew and grew up towards the roof and out through the skylight. I did it! I made food in my leaves and grew, Phoebe shouted. I'm the best beanstalk I could ever have made.
All right, my friends. So now what we are going to do is we are going to get out our learning resource packet. And inside of it, you're going to find the sheet that looks like this one. It looks like the sheet right here. Okay, you're going to grab it. And this is what you're going to do today. It's a really fun, just photosynthesis coloring sheet, okay? So go ahead, you're going to complete this. You can color it any way you want, okay? Make sure they're realistic colors. All right, you don't have to upload it. It's just kind of a fun activity for you to do today, okay? Keep up all that hard work, my friends. I will see you next week.